Dear listeners, like every business wants to be seen, heard, remembered, but somewhere between intention and action, the message gets diluted. The audience feels distant, and the noise drowns out what matters. I mean, marketing is not a manipulation, it is a kind of connection, I'd say. And when it is done right, it is one of the most human things that we can do. So, hey, dear listeners, welcome back to another powerful episode of Healthy Man, Healthy Life. I'm your host, Avik, and this is where we look at everyday mental health through the real conversations, practical tools, and the choices that we make when no one is watching. Yeah, you heard it correct, when no one is watching. And today we are talking about marketing in business, not as a kind of tactic, but as a mindset, a way of showing up with clarity and care. And with me today, we have a very lovely guest. Please welcome Adam Torres. So, welcome to the show.
Vic, man, I'm happy to be here. I've been waiting to come on your show for a while. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Adam, for being here. And before we get deep dive into the discussion, I definitely love to ask you. I mean, if you can share a bit more about your journey, about you with the listeners, it will really be great.
So my background is in finance, but I've been in media now, and most people know me maybe for podcasting or being an interview host. I mean, I've been doing that for the last 10 years. I'm going on 7,000 interviews, Avik. I think that means I'm getting older, man. I don't know. I feel like that's what that means. So they tell me. So 10 years in the business, and I've had the privilege of speaking with almost 7,000 people coming on the show. So when I think about like just that road and that journey, and then I've had the privilege of being on hundreds of shows being interviewed, and excited to be here today. So yeah, that's me, a little bit about me and my background.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Adam. And I definitely want to start with a bit of kind of, I'd say, the misconception. Uh, what do you think? I mean, it's the biggest misconception like people have about marketing, especially when they are just starting out or trying to grow something meaningful.
Hmm. I think one of the big challenges people have is when they're trying to find specifically, especially in the podcast world, is when they're trying to find their voice, like who they are, what they want to talk about, like what they want the audience to get from them. I think the like beginning, just the beginning part of marketing and the beginning part of
Mm.
creating a show or creating anything really, and anything is really trying to figure out your voice and like what kind of message you're trying to get across.
That is very, very true part, I would say. And because it is interesting, like how often we mistake the volume for the value.
Hmm. Especially nowadays, right? With AI, volume versus value has yet to be seen sometimes, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, marketing can feel like shouting into a crowd, but what you're saying, I mean, is definitely more likely, learning to listen first and then speaking to what actually matters the most. So that is really lovely. Yeah, yeah. And like, I mean, when someone realizes that, how do they begin to shift the way they think about their message or their audience? I mean, what do you say?
So the first thing I would say is you have to have a starting point and you're not going to know in the beginning. Like I tell
Mhm.
people this all the time. So I'll give you an example. We just recently launched a show for a host. His name is Brad
Okay.
Kistler. He's out of Orange County. And I told him it's called The Capital Effect. And I told him, and I co-host this show with him, but he's the main host. So he's the main one. We're building this show for him. And I told him, I said, okay, we're gonna start with a certain concept, a certain idea. This is like our best work. This is what we can do. This is what we agree on. But we have to be open-minded enough to know that if we need to change down the line, it's okay. And I'll give you an example of how that happened in my own company. And this is where I learned this super valuable lesson, in my opinion, is we started this company. So it was originally the first shows and the first content put out was under the brand of Money Matters Top Tips. And we thought it was going to be a 100% financial platform because that was my background, finance, right? So we thought, oh, okay, like that makes a lot of sense. But what we found was, well, first, what happened was I was interviewing somebody and they said, you know, Adam, money matters, but mission matters too. And I mean, it was like God just hit me in the stomach. I couldn't get it out of my head. And so, and I told the other co-founder, and before you know it, there's a whole story behind that. But before we know it, we changed the entire company. So we basically stopped and restarted a media company that was working. And just for some context, I'd already done over 1,500 interviews under that brand. We published books under that brand. They're still out there. People get to listen to them, and we basically, and the social media was built, all of that stuff. And we just stopped cold and pivoted to a new platform, a new name, and a new something that was more aligned to our values. Sure, we care about money. Like money's good. I'm not saying money's not good, but that didn't tie to myself and the other co-founders named Shirag. It didn't tie to a purpose that we felt that we could do for life or that we'd want to like be here when we're no longer here. You know what I mean? Like for next generations. And we felt mission matters. Like that was the gold. So I used that story to tell Brad. I said, "Hey, right now we're starting this show. It's called The Capital Effect. We have the marketing, everything else, it's all perfect. But after we get a certain amount of episodes in, you kind of always want to be reevaluating and like does this still feel good or is there something bigger that maybe this should be?" And so that's the challenge I think sometimes is recognizing that. And if you see it, if you get that sign, then actually like follow through with that change that you know you need to make instead of holding on to what you got.
Mm, that's true. Wow. And like, where do you think that disconnect comes from? Like the gap between what a business thinks people want and what people are actually looking for. I mean, obviously, I believe there will be a lot of confusion and a lot of misunderstanding also comes in between. So, I mean, what do you think on that? Yeah.
First off, on the product side of things,
Mm.
I learned we don't, at my company, we don't have too many misses. And the reason why we don't have too many misses is because we create things that people want. And it's not because so I'll give you an example. So one of our things that we've done for many years is we do a co-author book series. And that's where we bring together a bunch of entrepreneurs, a bunch of people together. And then they all put in a chapter in a book and it's called an anthology. And then we published that. Why did we do that? Because people were looking to publish books and they were asking us, could they help us? I wrote my first book and I published it, and I thought it was hilarious because people then started asking me to help them publish a book. And at this time, I was in finance, so I didn't have a media company or anything like that. I'm like, what are you crazy? Go to a book publisher. I don't know. I'm a financial advisor, you know? Like, you want me to help you publish a book? That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I did it and I figured it out, and then and that's kind of well, not kind of, that's the seed of where this started. Same thing with
Mm.
the podcast. When we started launching podcast shows, we
Yeah.
did that because people were coming on the show and they just had an experience where they're like, wow, how are you guys doing that? Or how is this happening? How is that? And then before you know it, someone has asked us, "Hey, can you help
Mm.
us do that?" And I'm like, "No." And then I thought about it, and I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. We have some staff with some bench time. We could probably do that. But just to be honest, we don't offer that service, and we haven't done it for other people. We did it for ourselves." And then those first couple of clients, they understood, and there were some bumps a little bit here and there, whatever. But we learned and got better, and now we've launched over 250 shows. So that all came from listening though. I didn't like start this and be like, "Oh, I got this great product like it's going to be great for the market or I have this for that." No, I didn't do that. I'm not that creative of it. Some people are, I'm not. I just listen. I'm like if enough people ask me for something, if we can deliver it and it's going to be a quality and it's going to be on brand for what we do and our standards, then we do it.
Mm. Oh. So, like, obviously, I mean, there's something, but if we talk about the daily life, like, how does this show up in everyday life or everyday business life? I'd say that tension between staying authentic and also needing to grow, to be visible. to sell, all those things. Right?
Once you misstep once or twice, it doesn't feel good. And if it doesn't
Mm,
feel good, you're probably not going to make that same mistake again. So it's like a kid, putting their finger in whatever, the light socket or something, getting electrocuted. They're probably, you do that once, you touch the hot stove once, you're probably never going to touch that hot stove again, right? So I
right.
could tell you when I first started like in this business, like I didn't know what I was doing. I remember seeing some other people in their content and I was like, "Oh, this person is a financial guy. Like I'm a financial guy. This person is successful creating content like this. Maybe I should make the same kind of content." And that
Mm,
content, it wasn't like bad or misleading or anything. It just wasn't like the way that I do things. It wasn't the way I talk. It wasn't the way that my normal, like that person was maybe a little bit more salesy, a little bit more in your face, talked a little faster, had a little bit of different style. And I thought to be successful in that space, I had to like emulate that person or kind of like mimic them, not copy them, but do like, oh, this person does this, I should do that. And then I did that and the audience didn't really respond and it didn't feel good. And when I looked at the videos or I looked at the content, I'm like, that doesn't like feel like me. And so now because I've made that mistake in the past, now it's pretty easy for me because I just don't do things that are off brand because I know that even if I get a little win right now, like long term, it's not going to be sustainable, number one, and number two,
mm,
it's breaking the trust with your audience. So I'll just give you an example. Let's say, okay, I was shopping this weekend. I bought some Legos, right? Great. By the way, I like Legos, but am I like a Lego fanatic? No, I'm not a Lego fanatic. I don't sit there and play with Legos and build things, which no disrespect to anybody else that does, by the way. I think there's some amazing artists out there that use Legos and all sorts of stuff. But if tomorrow I was to be like, you know what, there's a big market in Legos. Let's launch a Lego podcast and let's launch a Lego YouTube channel. You know what the worst thing ever would be, Avik, is
mm,
that was successful. Because now I'm stuck doing Legos and I don't want to do Legos. So the worst thing ever would be that is successful and that grows faster or bigger than what I currently do, which is interview people on Mission Matters podcasts and my other shows. So because then what happens is that's going to take away from everything else I do, number one. But number two, I might have created my own prison through the success of creating something that I didn't even want to do in the first place or I had no business doing. So there's different ways to be unsuccessful, right? Not just monetarily.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, that is interesting. I mean, yeah. And so like, what does that look like in practice? Like staying true to yourself while also adapting what the market or the audience needs.
The first thing is being realistic with yourself and your current capabilities. So in the beginning, I started out as the world's worst podcaster. Now, and you might laugh and be like, yeah, whatever, Adam. You're being humble, you're being nice. No, I was so bad in the beginning that I didn't even use my real name. I was so scared people would find out it was me because I sounded so terrible. I didn't do my first 300 episodes, they weren't even edited. I couldn't stand to listen to them. I didn't want anybody to really hear them. I just put them out. Like I didn't want to spend any money on this. I was like, no, whatever. My first 1,500 episodes, so 1,500 were audio only. Do you know why? It was because
Mhm.
if you turn on a camera, put me on video, I forgot my name. I couldn't even do an opening. like,
Mm,
and so if anybody's watching this and if you can get on a Zoom and if you can say your name and record it, hang out with your friend or whatever else, or interview somebody, then you're already 10 times better than I was in the beginning. Because in the beginning, if you put on a camera, I couldn't even say my name. I get stage fright like crazy. Then my first 3,000, after 3,000 interviews, then I did my first in-person interview where I interviewed somebody and I was so bad, I forgot to do the opening. I just started talking and then afterwards, because the director didn't want to embarrass me in front of the guest, the director kind of whispered in my ear. They said, "Hey Adam, are you gonna do any intros or
mm,
outros or anything else?" Like I literally just started talking to him. Like record, okay, and I just started having a conversation, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, yeah, we're recording an episode." I didn't do my first in person, like live in front of a live audience until after 5,000 interviews.
mm,
And so why? And again, and here's how funny it is. I forgot to do the opening again, and this time there's a live audience, so I'm over here doing the interview, everything else. Then
Yeah.
the stage person comes up like, "Hey, Adam, are you gonna do any of your intros or this, that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot again. Shit, shoot." So I was true to myself only because, but I noticed this though. I didn't quit. Like I pushed myself. And I always tried to get to that next level. So it wasn't that I like if I was like when I was in the beginning, I'm like, I'm not always gonna be this bad. If I keep on doing interviews, I gotta get better at some point. Like I mean something. And as I saw and I got those confidences for those other like little by little to be able to do different things, like I got better. And I just recently, actually, July 7th was a big, big day. We did our first Las Vegas live show at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, which was absolutely amazing. Beautiful casino, beautiful, beautiful. I did 27 interviews in one day in front of a live audience, and they were coming in and out, and it was absolutely amazing. So that's now another level that I just recently, and that's after I'm almost at 7,000 interviews right now, or maybe a little approaching 7,000 interviews. So that is another level. So when you say what does it look like true to be true to yourself day to day, you have to execute. Notice those numbers kept going, right? They kept rising and they weren't small numbers. It wasn't like, oh, I did two interviews, right? Like, no, those are big numbers. So you have to be like executing and actually doing the work, number one, and then you got to be able
Yeah.
to push yourself a little bit, to get to know that you can get better. If I was to start off with an opportunity to perform at the Bellagio and I'm in the beginning of my career, that would have been devastating. I would have been terrible. And I probably would have
Mm.
quit, right? That would have been too much and that would have been too much opportunity too fast that I wasn't ready for.
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. And uh, also, I mean, I feel while we are talking about this, we should also talk about the setbacks, right? So,
Mm.
uh, the campaigns that flop, the messages that do not land, the silence after you put.
That's every day. That's part of the business. That every single day that happens, a campaign of this or that. I'm right now. I looked at this email newsletter we just sent out. So and I'm like,
Mm,
oh man, our open rate was below what we thought it'd be. We had like it's a great newsletter. I'm like, man, did we send it on an off day? Was it a holiday? Whatever, whatever. What you know what I mean? Like it was below what we expected. So
mm,
every single day you deal with disappointment and but the cool part about this particular business, and I can't say this for every business, but I think it goes for most businesses, but specifically when you're creating content, is that you always got another shot to put out another video or to send another newsletter or to do something else. Like so that's like
mm,
that's the good thing about it. And then media specifically compounds over time. So even bad interviews, I'm not saying that I probably mess up an interview. I'll mess one up later on today. Who knows? I don't know. Like mess up an intro. I do a lot of live stuff too. So live is live, right? So if I butcher the introduction, if I say the person's
mm.
name wrong, if I do this, that's already out there. That's live, right? So
Yeah.
you just kind of get used to failing. And you just come back and then you just do it again. You do it again. You do it again. Like that's the key. And when I was in finance, by the way, so to
Mm,
relate it to a different type of business, when I was in finance,
yeah.
which was almost 14 years, it's very similar from the standpoint of you can't control just like in media, you
Yeah.
can't control public perception
Mm,
100%. You can't control what people are going to do 100%. Well, in finance, what you can't control is the market. The market, so if the market is crashing, if a lot of other things, you could have done your job right. You could have like had the perfect thought process. You could have had everything else, but like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
exactly. Yeah.
There you go. So that happens, and people can get punched in the face in business all the time. And then that plan, boy, woo, doesn't feel as good as you thought it was gonna be.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, resilience in marketing, it's like resilience in life is
Mm.
what to say. I mean, it is not about being the bulletproof. It is kind of being willing to learn and just try again and again. Uh, Knowing that failure is obviously a part of the process and not that the proof that you could. I mean, you should stop. But Yeah, I mean that is really helpful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah, I see it, and for the people listening, and the reason why I come
yeah.
on shows like this, just so you know,
Mm,
is I want people to hear about the bad stuff so that they can realize, like, okay, if this
mm,
guy can do this, if he can build a business from creating content, if he can do this, if he was so bad that he couldn't even say his name on a show after that many interviews, like, I want them to listen to this and be like, I could do that. Like, that's easy.
yeah.
Because in reality, the
Exactly.
only thing I've done really is I might be a little bit further ahead than some other people.
Mm,
That's all I've been doing. I've been podcasting for going on 10 years now. I've been in the business. And but if you look at other people, if you're just starting, if you're maybe a year and you're
mm,
into the journey or 2 years or something, if you're not getting the what you expected like out of this yet, I'm just telling you, people maybe didn't even care that I had a show until after 5 or 6 years. Because also for the record, they kind of shouldn't care. They got to know that you're serious. Like it's worth their time. Like think
mm,
about this for a moment. If somebody's listening to your show, and let's just say it's a half an hour show, right?
yeah.
That's 30 minutes that they spent listening to your show instead of watching Netflix or maybe a movie or something or a piece of a movie or part of a movie that cost $100 million or $1 billion to make.
Mm,
Instead of that, they're listening to your show. Like, that's a
right.
privilege. So if you're out there and you're listening to this and you have, you're like, "Oh, I only got 10 downloads." Well, 10 downloads times, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
that's 300 minutes of somebody's life you have. It's amazing. It's such an amazing thing to consider.
Correct. Definitely. So, if you have to give one advice to the listeners today, what will you give?
I'd say when it relates to getting content or creating content, I would say, or marketing in general, I would say to follow in the steps of people that are where you want to be. Like there's a roadmap out there for everything. Like in my case, what I want to be is I want to be one of the top hosts in the world. So what do I study and what do I do? I read books on people like Johnny Carson or Larry King or Oprah or Howard Stern. Like I read all the books on all the different entertainers, Flip Wilson, all of the people that have been behind a microphone and have entertained audiences for, in Johnny Carson's case, 30 years. Or in Bob Hope's case, what, for like 70 or 80 years, something like that. He was doing it forever.
Mm,
So that's what I do, but that's my particular path based off of my chosen profession. But if you're listening
yeah.
to this and you have a social media marketing agency or you have whatever the company is, or you're in finance, like there's other people that have done it. So you should at the very least, know what they did, maybe figure out how they did it so you can reverse engineer your own version of your own life that's going to make sense for you.
Exactly. Exactly true. And if listeners wants to connect with you, how they can connect?
Super simple. Instagram, ask Adam Torres on Instagram. If you go on there, click on the link. You can download my book completely free, the number 1billionpodcast.com. So again, it's called 1billionpodcast.com or that the website, excuse me, is 1billionpodcast.com. But if you click on there, it's 1 billion podcast, the future of all media. See, Avik, you said when's the last time you messed up? I just messed up just now. My call to action, man. I'm over here giving websites. I said go to Instagram. Ask Adam Torres. Click on the link. You can download the book.
Exactly, exactly. So, dear listeners, what I'll do is I'll make your life easier. So, I'll put all the links, details, everything into the show notes for your easy reference. And um, I'll just say, like, like marketing is not just about being the loudest, it is all about being the clearest, the most human, the one who cares enough to listen first, right? Uh, and Adam, I mean, it's really great. Thank you so much for sharing this. I mean, it's really, really helpful. It was really fun as well having conversation with you. I mean, it is really great, I'd say. And uh, for all the listeners, like, I mean, thank you so much for being here today. And uh, if you are building something, growing something, or just trying to figure out like how to show up more honestly in your work, then just remember this that your message matters and the way you deliver it actually matters the most. And the people who need to hear it are out there already, just waiting for someone who sounds like you, right? So I just say, take care of your mind, take care of your work, and I'll just see you in the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Avik.